Have you ever made a decision so fast, so certain, that you didn't stop to ask yourself if you were wrong? Ethan Caldwell did, and it nearly cost him everything. The rain hit the windshield like bullets. Ethan gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. His black Aston Martin tore through the flooded streets of Beverly Hills, hydroplaning past palm trees that bent under the weight of the storm. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be in his office downtown, closing a $12 million deal with investors from Singapore. But none of that mattered now. Nothing mattered except what he saw on his phone 3 minutes ago. The security alert had popped up while he was mid-sentence in the boardroom. His phone buzzed. He glanced down, and his entire world stopped. On the screen, grainy but clear enough, was Maria Torres, his children's nanny, his live-in maid, the woman he paid $75,000 a year to care for his triplets. She was kneeling beside Noah, Nathan, and Nadia near the indoor pool. Her arms were wrapped around them, tight, too tight, and she was whispering something into their ears. The kids looked terrified. Ethan didn't wait for an explanation. He didn't call Logan, his head of security. He didn't ask questions. He just ran. Left the investors sitting there confused. Left his briefcase. Left everything. Because someone had warned him this would happen. For weeks now, anonymous messages had been flooding his encrypted phone. Messages that said things like, "Your children are the key. Watch the ones closest to them. And she's not who you think she is." Ethan thought they were empty threats. Competitors trying to rattle him, hackers playing games. But now, speeding through the storm with his heart hammering in his chest, he realized he should have listened. He should have acted sooner. His phone buzzed again. Another alert. This time, it was a still image. Maria's face, looking directly at one of the cameras. Her expression was urgent, desperate, like she was planning something. Ethan's hands shook. He turned onto Crestview Drive and gunned the engine. The mansion loomed ahead, all glass and steel and cold perfection, sitting high on the hill like a fortress. But it wasn't a fortress, not anymore, because the danger was already inside. He skidded into the circular driveway, threw the car into park, and bolted toward the side entrance. His shoes splashed through puddles, rain soaked through his tailored suit. He didn't care. He had to get to his kids. He had to stop her. Ethan burst through the door, water dripping from his hair, his breath coming fast and shallow. The mansion was quiet. Too quiet. No staff in sight. No sound except the hum of the air conditioning and the distant echo of children's voices. He followed the sound. Down the marble hallway, past the grand staircase, through the gallery where his late wife's portrait still hung, watching him with eyes that seemed to say, "You're about to make a terrible mistake." But he couldn't stop now. He reached the glass doors that led to the indoor pool area. And there they were. Maria, on her knees. The triplets huddled around her like she was shielding them from something. Her voice was low, urgent, almost frantic. She was saying something he couldn't hear through the glass. And then she said the words that made his blood run cold. "Promise me you won't tell anyone, not until Daddy comes home." Ethan's heart stopped. That was it. That was the proof. She was trying to take them. He shoved the door open so hard it slammed against the wall. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Maria's head snapped up. The triplets screamed. And in that moment, everything Ethan had built, every wall, every rule, every carefully controlled piece of his life, came crashing down. To understand how it all went so wrong, you have to go back. Back to the beginning. Back to the day Maria Torres first stepped through the doors of the Crestview estate and thought she'd walked into a dream. That was 6 months ago. The mansion sat high in the Beverly Hills Mountains, a $30 million masterpiece of glass, steel, and silence. Infinity pool, private gym, home theater, wine cellar, staff quarters. A view of Los Angeles that stretched all the way to the ocean on clear days. It was the kind of place people saw in magazines and assumed was filled with laughter, joy, and family dinners. But it wasn't. It was a mausoleum. Ethan Caldwell had built it for his wife, Alyssa. She'd dreamed of a home like this, somewhere their kids could run free, somewhere they could grow old together. She picked out every tile, every light fixture, every piece of furniture. She wanted it to feel warm, lived in, full of love. But Alyssa never got to see it finished. 2 years ago, on a sunny afternoon in Santa Monica, the helicopter she was riding in suffered a mechanical failure. It went down over the coastline, fast, brutal, no survivors. Ethan got the call while he was in a meeting. He didn't believe it at first. Alyssa was careful. Alyssa was smart. Alyssa didn't just die, but she did. And when they handed him her wedding ring, the only thing they recovered intact, something inside Ethan died too. He threw himself into work. Caldwell Dynamics became his life. Meetings, deals, acquisitions, 18-hour days. He convinced himself that if he built enough, earned enough, achieved enough, maybe the pain would stop. It didn't. And while he buried himself in boardrooms and conference calls, his 3 children, Noah, Nathan, and Nadia, grew up without him. The triplets were only 2 years old when Alyssa died. They barely remembered her. All they knew was that Mommy was gone and Daddy was never home. So Ethan hired staff, lots of them, housekeepers, chefs, drivers, security, a rotating cast of nannies who came and went because none of them could handle the loneliness of the Caldwell mansion. Until Maria Torres wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't trained in childcare. She didn't have a degree in early childhood development. She didn't come from a fancy agency. She was just a 26-year-old woman from South Phoenix, Arizona, who desperately needed money and answered an ad online. The ad said, "Live-in maid and nanny, private estate, $75,000 per year, room and board included, must love children." Maria didn't love children. She barely knew any, but she loved her younger brother, Danny, who was dying of leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant that cost more than their mother Maid in 5 years waiting tables at a diner near Roosevelt Row. So Maria lied on her application, said she had experience, said she was great with kids, said she'd do anything, and somehow, miraculously, she got the job. The day she arrived, a black SUV picked her up from LAX. She pressed her face against the window the whole ride, staring at the palm trees, the mansions, the perfect lawns. She'd never seen wealth like this, not in person. When the gates of the Crestview estate opened, her jaw dropped. The driver smirked. "First time in Beverly Hills?" "First time out of Arizona," Maria whispered. She was led inside by a stern-faced woman named Ms. Whitman, the head housekeeper. Ms. Whitman didn't smile, didn't make small talk, just walked Maria through the mansion like she was giving a tour of a museum. "This is the kitchen. Don't touch the wine fridge. This is the main living area. Don't sit on the furniture. This is Mr. Caldwell's office. Don't go in there. Ever." Maria nodded, trying to memorize everything. They climbed a floating staircase to the second floor. Miss Whitman stopped in front of a door. "Your quarters. You'll share a bathroom with the other staff. Breakfast is at 6. The children wake at 7. Mr. Caldwell is rarely home, but when he is, stay out of his way. Got it, Maria said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ms. Whitman looked her up and down. You won't last, Maria blinked. Excuse me? The last 3 nannies quit within a month. The triplets are difficult. Mr. Caldwell is demanding. And this house… She trailed off, glancing around like the walls were listening. It has a way of swallowing people. Then she left. Maria stood there, alone in the hallway, wondering what the hell she'd just signed up for. But she didn't have time to wonder for long, because that's when she heard it. Crying, soft, heartbroken, coming from somewhere down the hall. Maria followed the sound, past more closed doors, past security cameras that tracked her every move, until she reached a room painted in soft blues and yellows, filled with toys that looked expensive and untouched. Inside were 3 tiny figures, Noah, Nathan, Nadia, the triplets. They were 4 years old, identical in almost every way except for Nadia's longer hair. They sat on the floor, surrounded by toys, but none of them were playing. They just sat there, staring, crying quietly. Maria's heart broke. She knocked softly on the door. Hey! 3 pairs of eyes turned to her, big, brown, filled with sadness. Who are you? Nathan asked, his voice shaky. I'm Maria. I'm here to take care of you. Like the other ladies? Nadia whispered. Maria stepped inside. I don't know about the other ladies, but I'm not going anywhere. She didn't know if that was true, but she said it anyway, and something strange happened. Noah, the quietest of the 3, stood up, walked over to her, and took her hand. Promise? He whispered. Maria knelt down so she was eye level with him. Promise. That was the beginning. Maria didn't know it yet, but in that moment, she became the only light in a house full of shadows, the only warmth in a mansion built on grief. And 6 months later, that same warmth would make Ethan Caldwell believe she was the most dangerous person in his life. But here's what Ethan didn't know. Maria wasn't just a nanny who showed up and did her job. She was the reason his children were still alive. Maria grew up knowing what it meant to survive. Not live, survive. Her childhood in South Phoenix wasn't the kind you saw in movies. No white picket fences, no family dinners around a table. Just a small duplex with peeling paint, a mother who worked 70-hour weeks, and a father who walked out one Tuesday morning and never came back. Maria was 9 years old when that happened, and overnight, she became the parent. Her mother, Rosa, took on double shifts at a diner near Roosevelt Row just to keep the lights on. So Maria raised her younger siblings, made them breakfast, walked them to school, helped with homework, tucked them into bed. She learned how to stretch $5 into 3 meals, how to lie to the landlord about when the rent was coming, how to smile even when everything hurt. By the time she was 16, Maria had already lived 3 lifetimes. But the hardest part came later. Her youngest brother, Danny, got sick, really sick. Leukemia, the kind that moved fast and didn't care how much you prayed or how hard you fought. The doctor said he needed a bone marrow transplant. Insurance wouldn't cover it. The cost, $240,000. Maria watched her mother break down in a hospital waiting room, watched her cry in a way that made no sound, and Maria made a decision right there. She would get the money, no matter what it took. That's how she ended up in Beverly Hills. That's how she ended up lying on a job application. That's how she ended up standing in front of 3 broken children who needed her just as much as she needed them. And from the very first day, something changed. The triplets had been silent for months. Staff whispered about it, how they barely spoke, how they flinched when anyone raised their voice, how they clung to each other like they were the only safe thing in the world. But with Maria, they opened up. She didn't treat them like fragile little rich kids. She treated them like people. She sat on the floor with them, listened to their stories, laughed at their jokes, sang silly songs while they brushed their teeth. She invented games. She read them bedtime stories with different voices for every character. She let them help her fold laundry and pretended they were the best helpers in the world. And slowly, the triplets came back to life. Noah started talking again. Nathan smiled. Nadia stopped having nightmares. The other staff noticed. Miss Whitman, the head housekeeper, watched Maria closely at first, waiting for her to quit like the others. But weeks passed, then months, and Maria stayed. More than that, she thrived. "She's different," Ms. Whitman admitted one afternoon to the chef, Marcus, while they watched Maria and the kids play hide-and-seek in the garden. "Different how?" Marcus asked. "She actually cares." And she did. Maria would wake up early just to make the kids their favorite breakfast. She'd spend her only day off taking them to the park. She'd stay up late when they had bad dreams, rocking them back to sleep, even though her back ached and her eyes burned with exhaustion. She gave them something money couldn't buy: love. But there was something else Maria noticed, something that made her stomach twist every time she thought about it. The mansion wasn't just lonely, it was watching. Cameras everywhere, in hallways, in rooms, pointed at places that didn't make sense. Maria once found one aimed directly at the kids' bathroom, another hidden behind a painting in the playroom. And then there was Logan Price, Ethan's head of security, former military intelligence, cold eyes, colder smile. He moved through the mansion like a ghost, appearing in doorways without warning, watching everything, saying little. Maria didn't trust him. The way he looked at the children made her skin crawl. Not in an obvious way, nothing she could report, just a feeling, an instinct that screamed, "Something's wrong." She saw him once, late at night, coming up from the basement, a place she'd been told was off-limits. He was carrying something wrapped in black cloth. When he noticed her standing at the top of the stairs, his expression didn't change. "You're up late," he said. "Nadia had a nightmare," Maria replied, her voice steady, even though her heart was pounding. Logan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "You're good with them, the kids." "I try." Mr. Caldwell appreciates that. He moved past her, close enough that she could smell leather and something metallic. "But you should be careful. People talk, staff gossip. Wouldn't want anyone getting the wrong idea about you." Maria's blood ran cold. "Wrong idea?" "Just saying. You're new. You're close to the children. Some might wonder why." Then he disappeared down the hallway. Maria stood there frozen, replaying his words over and over. Some might wonder why. What did that mean? She tried to shake it off, tried to convince herself she was being paranoid, but after that night, she noticed Logan watching her more, appearing whenever she was with the kids, standing just a little too close, asking questions that felt like tests. "Where are you from again? How long do you plan to stay? Do you have family in LA?" Maria kept her answers short, simple, but inside, she was screaming. And then the kids started acting strange. It was small things at first. Noah waking up crying, but refusing to say why. Nathan suddenly afraid of the basement door. Nadia asking Maria if bad men were real. "What do you mean, sweetie?" Maria asked, brushing Nadia's hair one evening. The man with the gloves, Nadia whispered. He said, we're special. Maria's hands stopped moving. What man? But Nadia wouldn't say more. Maria tried asking Noah and Nathan separately. They clammed up, changed the subject, looked terrified. Something was happening to these children, something no one else was seeing. And Maria? She was the only one who cared enough to find out what. But she had no idea how dangerous that curiosity would become. It started with a text message Ethan almost deleted. He was in his office at Caldwell Dynamics, 43 floors above downtown Los Angeles, when his encrypted phone buzzed. The number was unknown. The message was short. Your children are the key. Watch the ones closest to them. Ethan stared at it for a full minute. Then he deleted it. Competitor trying to rattle him. Disgruntled ex-employee. Some hacker who got his number. It happened all the time. When you're worth $2 billion, people want your attention, your money, your fear. Ethan gave them none of it. But the messages didn't stop. 3 days later, another one. She's not who you think she is. A week after that, ask yourself why she really came. And then, the one that made him pause. Check her background, especially Arizona. Ethan sat back in his leather chair, the city sprawling beneath him, like a kingdom. He didn't scare easy. But something about these messages felt different, personal, specific. He called Logan into his office. Logan Price walked in like he always did, silent, controlled, dangerous. He'd been with Ethan for 5 years, former Army intelligence. Dishonorable discharge that Ethan never asked about. Logan didn't talk much, but he was loyal, ruthlessly efficient, and he knew how to make problems disappear. What do you need? Logan asked, standing at attention, even though Ethan never asked him to. Ethan showed him the messages. Logan's jaw tightened. How long has this been happening? 2 weeks, maybe 3. And you're just telling me now. I thought it was nothing. Logan took the phone, scrolled through the messages, his expression unreadable. It's not nothing. What do you mean? These aren't random threats. Someone's watching you, watching your family. Logan looked up. When's the last time you vetted your staff? Ethan frowned. We vet everyone. You know that. When's the last time you vetted Maria Torres? The name hit Ethan like a slap. Maria? Why would... She's the newest hire. She's alone with your children more than anyone else. And according to this, Logan tapped the phone, someone wants you to look into her past. Ethan felt something cold settle in his chest. Run a background check. Full depth. I want to know everything. Logan nodded. Already on it. He left the office, and Ethan sat there, staring out at the city, wondering if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life by trusting someone he barely knew with the only things that mattered. 2 days later, Logan came back with a file. Ethan opened it, and everything changed. Maria Torres wasn't even her real name. She'd been born Maria Vasquez in Glendale, Arizona. Changed her name 3 years ago after fleeing an abusive relationship with a man named Carlos Reyes. Carlos had been arrested twice for assault, once for stalking. He'd threatened her family, threatened to kill her. Maria had disappeared, changed her identity, and started over. She's running from someone, Logan said quietly. Ethan's hands shook as he flipped through police reports, restraining orders, court documents. Why didn't this come up in the initial screening? She knew how to hide it. Used a legal name change. New social security number. She's smart. Or she's dangerous. Logan leaned forward. There's more. Ethan looked up. Carlos Reyes was released from prison 4 months ago. right before Maria applied for this job. The room spun. You think he's the one sending the messages? I think someone knows she's here, and they're trying to warn you. Logan's voice dropped. Or they're working with her. Ethan's mind raced. Maria. Sweet, gentle Maria. The woman his children adored. The woman who sang them lullabies and made them laugh. Was she using them? Was she planning something? I want cameras on her. 24/7. Audio too. I want to know every word she says, every move she makes. Logan nodded. Already done. And Logan? Yes, sir? If she's a threat to my kids, Ethan's voice turned to ice. Handle it. Logan smiled. Just slightly. With pleasure. He left the office. And Ethan sat there, staring at Maria's photo in the file. Her warm brown eyes, her kind smile. He wanted to believe she was innocent. But billionaires don't survive by trusting people. They survive by eliminating threats. And Maria Torres? She'd just become threat number one. What Ethan didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Logan Price wasn't protecting him. Logan was protecting himself. Because the man with the gloves the children feared, the one who came at night, the one who whispered that they were special, that was Logan. And Maria was getting too close to the truth. 3:15 in the afternoon. That's when Logan walked into the security control room and locked the door behind him. The room was small, dark, lined with monitors that showed every corner of the Crestview estate. Hallways, bedrooms, kitchen, pool, garden, even the kids' playroom. Logan sat down in front of the main console and pulled up the footage from the past 72 hours. He fast-forwarded through most of it. Staff cleaning, chef preparing meals, Maria playing with the children. He stopped on a clip from 2 nights ago, 11:47 p.m. Maria was standing at the top of the basement stairs, alone, looking down into the darkness, like she was trying to decide whether to go down or not. Logan's jaw clenched. She'd been snooping. He switched to another camera. This one from yesterday morning, 7:32 a.m. Maria was in the kids' bathroom, brushing Nadia's hair. The little girl was whispering something. Maria leaned closer to hear. Logan turned up the audio. The man with the gloves comes at night, Nadia said softly. He watches us sleep. Maria's face went pale. What man, baby? I don't know his name, but he smells like the basement. Logan shut off the monitor. His hands trembled. Not from fear, from rage. She was getting too close. He'd spent 6 months, carefully, methodically building his plan. 6 months of gaining Ethan's trust. 6 months of learning the security systems inside and out. 6 months of preparing for the moment when he'd take the triplets, ransom them for $50 million, and disappear to a country with no extradition treaty. It was perfect, until Maria showed up and ruined everything. The kids loved her, trusted her, and worse, she was paying attention, noticing things no one else noticed, asking questions no one else asked. Logan had tried to scare her off with subtle warnings, the late-night encounter, the comments about people getting the wrong idea. But she didn't scare, so he had to get creative. He pulled up a blank email and typed quickly, "Your children are the key. Watch the ones closest to them." Sent it from an encrypted server, untraceable. Then another. "She's not who you think she is." And another. "Check her background, especially Arizona." Logan knew about Maria's past. He dug deep, found the abusive ex-boyfriend, the name change, the restraining orders, and he knew exactly how to twist that information into a weapon. He picked up his phone and called Ethan. "It's me," Logan said when Ethan answered. "We need to talk. Now." 20 minutes later, Logan was standing in Ethan's office downtown, handing him the file. Ethan flipped through it, his expression darkening with every page. "She lied," Ethan said quietly. "Not just lied. She hid a violent past, a stalker ex-boyfriend, and she changed her identity right before applying for this job." Logan paused. "Think about it. What are the chances? You think she's working with him? I think someone's targeting you through your kids, and she's the perfect inside contact." Ethan looked up, his eyes hollow. "What do I do?" Logan leaned forward. "Let me watch her. Close. If she makes one wrong move, we'll know. I want cameras on her, audio too." "Already done." Ethan nodded slowly. "And if she's planning something?" Logan's voice dropped. "I'll handle it." That was 3 days ago. Since then, Logan had been busy. He repositioned cameras throughout the mansion, added new ones Maria wouldn't notice. Tiny, hidden, one in the playroom ceiling, another behind a mirror in the kids' bathroom, a third in the hallway outside her quarters. He also installed audio devices, microphones so sensitive they could pick up a whisper from 15 feet away. And then he did something else, something Maria would never see coming. He started feeding Ethan altered footage. Not big changes, just little edits. A few seconds clipped here, a sentence removed there. Enough to make Maria's actions look suspicious without being obvious. Like the clip from yesterday, 4:17 p.m. Maria was in the garden with the kids. They were playing hide and seek. Logan edited out the laughter, the smiles, the joy, and spliced in a moment where Maria pulled Nathan aside and whispered something in his ear. On screen, it looked secretive, suspicious, like she was telling him to keep a secret. In reality, she was telling him his shoelace was untied. But Ethan didn't know that. Logan also manipulated the staff. At lunch one afternoon, he casually mentioned to Ms. Whitman that Maria had been asking strange questions about Mr. Caldwell's schedule. "What kind of questions?" Ms. Whitman asked, concerned. "When he's home, when he's not, how often he checks the security system." Logan shrugged. "Probably nothing. But keep an eye on her, yeah?" Ms. Whitman nodded, her expression troubled. Logan did the same with the chef, Marcus, the driver, the gardener. Little comments, tiny seeds of doubt. By the end of the week, the entire staff was watching Maria like she was a ticking bomb. And Maria, she had no idea. She went about her days like normal, playing with the kids, reading them stories, singing songs, making them laugh. But she felt it, the shift, the way Miss Whitman looked at her differently, the way Marcus stopped making small talk in the kitchen, the way the other housekeepers avoided her in the hallways. Something was wrong. She just didn't know what. Until Wednesday afternoon, 2:45 p.m. Maria was folding laundry in her quarters when her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're being watched. Be careful." Maria's heart stopped. She stared at the screen, her hands shaking. Who sent this? She tried calling the number back. It went straight to a disconnected tone. She sat on her bed, her mind racing. Was this a threat? A warning? A trap? She thought about showing it to someone. Ms. Whitman, maybe even Mr. Caldwell. But something stopped her. What if they thought she was paranoid? What if they thought she was making it up? Worse, what if they were the ones watching her? Maria deleted the message and tried to forget about it. But that night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the mansion, the hum of the air conditioning, the distant creak of floorboards, the faint beep of security systems resetting. And then she heard something else. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming down the hallway outside her room. They stopped in front of her door. Maria held her breath. The doorknob turned, just slightly, then stopped, and the footsteps walked away. Maria didn't move for the next 2 hours. Thursday morning, 6:53 a.m. Maria walked into the triplets' room to wake them up for breakfast, but they were already awake, all three of them, sitting on the floor, not playing, not talking, just sitting, staring at the door like they'd been waiting for her. "Good morning, guys," Maria said, forcing a smile. "Did you sleep okay?" None of them answered. Maria's smile faded. "What's wrong?" Nadia stood up first. She walked over to Maria and grabbed her hand, hard. "Auntie Maria," she whispered, "we need to tell you something." "Okay, what is it?" Noah and Nathan stood up too. They moved closer, forming a tight circle around her. "The man with the gloves came again last night," Noah said quietly. Maria's stomach dropped. "What? When?" "After you put us to bed," Nathan added. "He stood in the doorway and watched us." "He didn't come in," Nadia said quickly. "He just stood there. For a long time." Maria felt sick. "Did you tell anyone else?" All three shook their heads. "Why not?" "Because," Noah whispered, his eyes filling with tears, "he said if we tell Daddy, something bad will happen to you." Maria's breath caught. She knelt down, so she was eye level with them. "Listen to me, all of you. I need you to be very brave and tell me everything. Okay?" They nodded. "When did this start?" "A long time ago," Nathan said. "Before you came." "He used to come every night," Nadia added. "But then you got here, and he stopped for a while." "But now he's back," Noah finished. "What does he do?" Maria asked, her voice shaking. The triplets looked at each other, like they were deciding how much to say. Finally, Nathan spoke. "He takes us downstairs sometimes, to the basement, where Daddy said we're not allowed to go." Maria's blood turned to ice. "What happens in the basement?" "He shows us things," Noah said. "Screens, computers, pictures of people we don't know." "He says we're special," Nadia whispered. "He says we're worth more than Daddy knows." Maria felt like she was going to be sick. This wasn't just a creepy staff member. This wasn't just someone overstepping boundaries. This was something much, much worse. "Okay," Maria said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Okay, here's what we're going to do. You three are going to stay with me today. All day. We're not leaving each other's side. And tonight, when Daddy gets home, we're going to tell him everything. Together." "But the man said—" "I don't care what he said," Maria interrupted gently. "I'm not going to let anything happen to you, or to me. I promise." She pulled them into a tight hug. But inside, she was terrified. Because she didn't know who the man with the gloves was. She didn't know if it was Logan, or someone else, or how many people were involved. All she knew was that these children were in danger, and she was the only one who believed them. The rest of the day felt like a nightmare in slow motion. 10:15 a.m. Maria kept the kids close while they had breakfast. Ms. Whitman walked by and gave her a strange look. "Why aren't they in the playroom?" Ms. Whitman asked. "They wanted to stay with me today," Maria replied. Ms. Whitman frowned, but said nothing. 1:30 p.m. Maria took the kids outside to the garden. They played in the grass while she kept one eye on the house. She saw movement in one of the upstairs windows. Someone watching. 3:07 p.m. Maria brought the kids back inside for a snack. The chef, Marcus, was in the kitchen. "Mr. Caldwell called," he said, without looking at her. "He's coming home early today." Maria's heart leaped. "What time?" "Around 5. Good. That gave her a few hours. She just had to keep the kids safe until then. 4:42 p.m. Maria was playing with the triplets in the indoor pool area when she noticed something. The door to the basement, the one that was always locked, was slightly open. She stared at it. The kids noticed too. "That's where he takes us," Nathan whispered. Maria's pulse quickened. She should wait. She should wait for Ethan to get home. She should tell him everything and let him handle it. But what if the man with the gloves came back tonight? What if he hurt the kids before she had a chance to explain? What if no one believed her? Maria made a decision. "Stay right here," she told the triplets. "Don't move. I'll be right back." "Auntie Maria, no, I'll be right back." She walked toward the basement door. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She pushed the door open. And that's when everything changed. Because at that exact moment, 4:51 p.m., Ethan Caldwell's car pulled into the driveway. He checked his phone. A new security alert. Maria Torres, unauthorized access to restricted area. And below it, a live image. Maria, standing at the basement door. The triplets behind her, looking scared. Ethan didn't think. He just ran. What would you do if you opened a door and found proof that the person you trusted most was the monster all along? Maria was about to find out. 4:52 p.m. She stepped through the basement doorway. The stairs were concrete, cold. They descended into darkness that even the mansion's expensive lighting couldn't quite reach. The air smelled different down here. Damp, metallic, like old coins and something else Maria couldn't name. Behind her, she heard Nadia whimper. "Auntie Maria, please don't go down there." Maria turned back. The triplets were huddled together by the pool, their faces pale with fear. "I'm just going to look," Maria said softly. "I need to see what he's been showing you. Stay right there. If anyone comes, you scream, okay?" They nodded. Maria took a breath and started down the stairs. Each step echoed. 1, 2, 3. The basement opened up into a large room, much larger than she expected. The walls were lined with filing cabinets, metal shelves stacked with boxes, and in the center of the room, Maria's breath caught. A desk, 3 computer monitors, all of them on. But it was what was on the screens that made her blood run cold. The triplets. Dozens of photos, video clips, timestamps going back months. Some from before Maria even started working here. Noah sleeping, Nathan in the bathtub, Nadia getting dressed. Maria felt bile rise in her throat. She moved closer, her hands shaking. One of the screens showed a document. A detailed file. It had the triplets' full names, birth certificates, medical records. And at the bottom, in bold red letters, estimated value, $50 million. Maria's knees went weak. This wasn't just surveillance. This was a plan. Someone was going to take these children, ransom them, and they'd been preparing for months. She grabbed her phone to take pictures, evidence, proof, but her phone was dead. No, 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 no. She'd charged it last night. It was at 70% this morning. Unless someone had remotely drained it. Maria's hands started trembling. She looked up at the corners of the room. Cameras. Tiny red lights, blinking in the darkness. Someone was watching her right now. She turned to run back up the stairs. But someone was already standing at the top, blocking her way. 4:54 p.m. Ethan's car skidded to a stop in the driveway. He didn't bother closing the door, just ran straight into the mansion, his heart hammering, his mind replaying the security image over and over. Maria at the basement door. The kids looking terrified. The unauthorized access alert. He burst through the side entrance and ran toward the pool area. The triplets were there, alone, crying. "Daddy!" Nadia screamed when she saw him. Ethan dropped to his knees. "Where is she? Where's Maria?" "She went downstairs," Noah sobbed. "We told her not to, but she went anyway." Nathan grabbed Ethan's shirt. "Daddy, the bad man is going to hurt her." Ethan's blood turned to ice. "What bad man?" But before they could answer, he heard it. A crash from the basement, then a scream. Maria. Ethan ran. 4:55 p.m. Maria stumbled backward down the stairs as the figure at the top descended slowly. She couldn't see his face. The light was behind him, but she saw his hands. Black gloves. "You shouldn't have come down here," the voice said. Maria's back hit the desk. She grabbed the edge to steady herself. "Who are you?" she demanded, trying to sound braver than she felt. The figure stepped into the light. Logan. Of course it was Logan. "You really are too curious for your own good," Logan said calmly. He moved toward her like a predator stalking prey. "I warned you multiple times, but you just couldn't leave it alone." "You're planning to kidnap them," Maria breathed. "The triplets." Logan smiled. "Kidnap is such an ugly word. I prefer leverage. Ethan's worth $2 billion. $50 million is pocket change to him. He'll pay, and I'll disappear." "You're insane." "I'm practical." Logan picked up one of the files from the desk. "I've been planning this for a year. Every detail, every angle, and it was perfect until you showed up." Maria's mind raced. She needed to get past him, get upstairs, get to the kids. "The messages," she said suddenly. "You sent them. You made Ethan think I was the threat." "Clever girl." "And the staff. You turned them against me." Logan shrugged. "Easier than you'd think. People love drama, love having someone to suspect." "Ethan will never believe you," Maria said. "When I tell him—" "Tell him what?" Logan laughed. "That the woman who lied about her identity, who has a violent ex-boyfriend, who changed her name and snuck into his house, is actually innocent. That I'm the bad guy." He stepped closer. "Maria, sweetheart, he already thinks you're the threat. I made sure of that. And right now, he's watching you on camera, breaking into a restricted area, alone with evidence that looks like you've been planning this." Maria's heart stopped. "What?" Logan gestured to the desk, to the computers. "Whose fingerprints do you think are all over this equipment now? Whose image is on every camera in this room?" Oh God, he'd set her up. The whole thing was a trap. "So here's what's going to happen," Logan said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're going to have an unfortunate accident. A fall down the basement stairs. Tragic. And when Ethan finds your body, he'll also find all this evidence. He'll think you were working with someone, maybe your ex-boyfriend, and he'll blame himself for not seeing it sooner." Logan reached for her. Maria did the only thing she could think of. She screamed and grabbed the nearest object, a heavy metal filing box, and swung it at Logan's head. It connected with a sickening crack. Logan stumbled backward, cursing. Maria didn't wait. She bolted for the stairs, but Logan recovered faster than she expected. He grabbed her ankle. She fell hard. Her chin hit the concrete step. Pain exploded through her jaw. Logan dragged her back down. "You stupid—" And then a voice cut through the darkness like a blade. "Let her go." Ethan. He was standing at the top of the stairs, and he'd seen everything. 4:58 p.m. Time moved like broken glass. Ethan stood frozen at the top of the basement stairs, his brain trying to process what his eyes were seeing. Logan, his head of security, his most trusted employee, the man he'd relied on for 5 years, holding Maria by the ankle, a woman on the ground, bleeding from her mouth, terrified, and behind Logan, On the monitors, images of his children. $50 million. Kidnapping plans. Everything clicked into place like a nightmare assembling itself in real time. Ethan, Logan said, his voice smooth as ever. This isn't what it looks like. But it was exactly what it looked like. Ethan's voice came out barely above a whisper. Let her go. Logan released Maria's ankle. She scrambled up the stairs on her hands and knees, gasping, crying. Ethan caught her, pulled her behind him. Are you okay? He asked without taking his eyes off Logan. Maria couldn't speak. She just nodded, clutching the back of Ethan's jacket. Logan stood at the bottom of the stairs, hands raised like he was surrendering. But his expression wasn't afraid. It was annoyed. How much did you see? Logan asked. Enough. Then you know I had this under control until she interfered. Ethan's jaw clenched. Under control? You were planning to kidnap my children. For your own good, Logan said calmly. You're spread too thin, Ethan. You work 100 hours a week. You barely see your kids. Someone was going to take advantage eventually. I just wanted to make sure it was me. The audacity of it knocked the air from Ethan's lungs. You're insane. I'm honest. Logan descended one step. And here's the truth. You still need me. You think you can go to the police. Tell them what? That your head of security has files? That he talked about hypothetical scenarios? Logan gestured to the computers behind him. I've been very careful. Everything down here traces back to her. He pointed at Maria. Her fingerprints. Her access logs. By the time the cops sort through it, I'll be gone, and she'll be in jail. Maria felt sick. Ethan's hands balled into fists. You threatened my children. I protected them for years. You terrorized them. The words echoed through the basement. Logan's expression finally shifted. The calm mask cracked, and underneath was something cold, something that had been hiding for a very long time. They're not even yours, Logan said quietly. Ethan froze. What? Alyssa, your perfect wife. Logan smiled, and it was the cruelest thing Maria had ever seen. Did you ever wonder why the triplets don't look anything like you? Shut your mouth. She was having an affair, Ethan, for 2 years, with your business partner, David Chen. The helicopter crash wasn't an accident. I know because I was the one who arranged the maintenance records to be faked. The world stopped. Maria felt Ethan's body go rigid in front of her. You're lying, Ethan breathed. I'm really not. Why do you think Chen disappeared to Singapore right after her death? Why do you think he never came to the funeral? Logan's voice was soft now, almost pitying. I have proof. DNA tests, hotel receipts, everything. I was going to use it as leverage later, but since we're sharing secrets… Ethan moved so fast Maria almost didn't see it. He launched himself down the stairs. Logan wasn't ready. They collided. Hard. Crashed into the filing cabinets. The monitors fell. Glass shattered. Maria screamed. 5:02 p.m. The triplets heard the crash from upstairs, then shouting, then more crashing. What's happening? Nadia cried. Ms. Whitman had just arrived, along with Marcus the chef and 2 other staff members, drawn by the screams. Stay with them, Ms. Whitman ordered Marcus. She pulled out her phone and dialed 911. I need police at the Crestview estate in Beverly Hills. There's an assault in progress. Downstairs, Ethan and Logan were destroying each other. Ethan had never been a fighter. He was a businessman, a tech genius, a billionaire who solved problems with lawyers and leverage. But right now, he was a father, and fathers don't think, they just act. He slammed Logan against the concrete wall. Logan's head cracked against it, but Logan was trained. Military. He recovered in seconds, drove his elbow into Ethan's ribs. Ethan gasped, stumbled back. Logan grabbed a metal pipe from the debris. "I didn't want it to go this way," Logan said, breathing hard. Blood ran from his nose. "But you always were too stubborn for your own good." He swung. Maria screamed from the stairs, "Ethan!" Ethan ducked. The pipe hit the wall where his head had been a second earlier. Ethan grabbed Logan's wrist, twisted. Logan dropped the pipe. They grappled. Two men. Too much anger. Too much betrayal. And then Maria heard it. Sirens. Distant but getting closer. Logan heard them too. His eyes widened. And for the first time, Maria saw panic. He shoved Ethan off. Hard. Ethan fell backward. Logan ran for the stairs. But Maria was standing in his way. Their eyes met. For a split second, she thought he was going to hurt her. Instead, he shoved past her, nearly knocking her down, and bolted up the stairs. 5:04 p.m. Logan burst into the pool area. Staff members scattered. The triplets screamed. Logan ran for the side exit, the one that led to the service driveway, but the door wouldn't open. Electronic lock. He spun around and saw Ethan standing at the other end of the pool, blood on his face, suit torn, eyes burning with a rage Maria had never seen before. "You're not leaving," Ethan said. Logan pulled something from his jacket. A gun. Everyone froze. "I didn't want this," Logan said again. His hand was shaking. "But I'm not going to prison." He aimed it at Ethan. The triplets screamed. Maria moved without thinking. She ran, threw herself between Logan and Ethan. "Stop!" she screamed. Logan's finger twitched on the trigger, and then the front door exploded open. "LAPD, drop the weapon." 4 officers, guns drawn. Logan looked at them, looked at Maria, looked at Ethan, and slowly, so slowly, he lowered the gun, dropped it, put his hands up. "On your knees," one officer shouted. Logan knelt. They swarmed him, cuffed him, read him his rights. It was over. 5:09 p.m. Maria collapsed. Her legs just gave out. She crumpled to the marble floor, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Ethan was beside her in seconds. "Maria," he breathed. "Maria, look at me." She couldn't. She was crying too hard. Ethan pulled her into his arms. And for the first time in 6 months, Maria broke. She sobbed into his chest, while the police dragged Logan away, while the staff whispered in shock, while the triplets ran to them both, crying and holding on like they'd never let go. "I'm sorry," Ethan kept saying. "I'm so sorry. I thought you were—" "I know," Maria whispered. "I know." But the damage was done, and both of them knew it. Have you ever watched someone's entire world collapse in real time? That's what happened next. 5:37 p.m. The police had cordoned off the basement. Logan was in the back of a patrol car, head down, hands cuffed behind his back. More officers were arriving. Detectives, crime scene investigators. The mansion that had been a tomb of silence for 2 years was now crawling with strangers. Maria sat on the edge of the pool deck, wrapped in a blanket someone had given her. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. A paramedic was checking her jaw where she'd hit the concrete stairs. "You're going to have a pretty nasty bruise," the paramedic said gently, "but nothing's broken." "You're lucky." Lucky? Maria almost laughed. Across the pool, Ethan was talking to a detective, answering questions, his voice low and controlled. But Maria could see his hands trembling, see the way he kept glancing over at his children. The triplets were with Miss Whitman in the living room, away from the chaos, away from the police, away from everything. But Maria could still hear Nadia crying. A female detective approached Maria. Mid-40s, kind eyes. She knelt down so they were at eye level. I'm Detective Sarah Reeves, she said softly. I know this has been traumatic, but I need to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Maria nodded. Can you tell me what happened in the basement? Maria took a shaky breath and told her everything. Logan's plan, the computers, the files, the $50 million ransom, the way he'd tried to frame her. Detective Reeves listened carefully, taking notes. And the children, she said. Mr. Price had access to them? Every day, Maria whispered. He'd take them to the basement when no one was looking, show them things, tell them they were special. He groomed them for months. The detective's expression darkened. Did he ever touch them inappropriately? I don't know. They wouldn't tell me everything. They were too scared. Detective Reeves nodded. We'll need to have a forensic interviewer talk to them. Someone trained in child trauma. Can you help facilitate that? Maria looked across the pool at Ethan. He was watching her now. Their eyes met. And in that moment, Maria saw something she'd never seen before. Guilt. Raw, devastating guilt. Because Ethan had accused her, suspected her, watched her, doubted her, while the real monster was standing right beside him the whole time. 6:41 p.m. The police finally left. The mansion fell silent again, but it was a different kind of silence now, heavy, suffocating. Maria stood in the kitchen, staring at nothing. Ms. Whitman had made tea, set it in front of her, but Maria couldn't bring herself to drink it. Footsteps behind her. She turned. Ethan stood in the doorway. He looked destroyed. Suit still torn, blood dried on his temple, eyes red-rimmed. Can we talk? He asked quietly. Maria didn't answer, just stared at him. Ethan took a step inside. I don't know where to start. Then don't, Maria said. Her voice was flat, empty. Maria, you thought I was going to hurt them. The words came out like stones. Your children. You thought after everything, you actually believed I would. Her voice broke. Ethan's face crumpled. I know, and I'm sorry doesn't fix this, Maria whispered. Do you understand that? You put cameras on me. You had people watch me. You made everyone think I was dangerous. I was wrong. You were more than wrong, Ethan. You were cruel. The word hung in the air between them. Ethan took another step forward. I was terrified. The messages. The threats. Logan showed me your background. The name change. The ex-boyfriend. And I thought, you thought I was using your kids to get to your money. Maria's laugh was bitter. That's what you thought of me. After 6 months. After watching me love them. After seeing how much they needed me. I wasn't thinking clearly. No, you were thinking like a billionaire. Maria stood up. Everyone's a threat. Everyone's got an angle. Everyone wants something. That's not fair. Fair? Maria's voice rose. You want to talk about fair? I gave everything to those kids. Everything. And you accused me of planning to take them. Tears streamed down her face now. Do you know what Logan said to me in that basement? He said you'd never believe me. That I'd go to jail for something I didn't do. And for a minute, I actually thought he was right. Ethan's own tears started falling. Maria, please. I can't do this, Maria said. I can't look at you right now. She walked past him, stopped at the doorway, turned back. Those kids upstairs? They love you. They're terrified and traumatized, and they need their father. So go be their father. I'll stay tonight because they need me. But tomorrow? She met his eyes. Tomorrow, I'm gone. 9:17 p.m. Maria sat on the floor of the Triplets' room. All three of them were curled up around her. Noah's head on her lap. Nathan clutching her arm. Nadia pressed against her side. None of them was sleeping. Is the bad man coming back? Nadia whispered. No, baby, Maria said softly. He's gone. The police took him away. He can't hurt you anymore. Promise? Nathan asked. Maria kissed the top of his head. I promise. What about Daddy? Noah's small voice was barely audible. Is Daddy mad at us? Maria's heart shattered. What? No. Why would you think that? Because we didn't tell him about the bad man sooner, Noah said. We kept it a secret. Oh, sweetheart. Maria pulled him closer. None of this is your fault. Do you hear me? Not one single bit. But you and Daddy were yelling, Nadia said. We heard you. Maria closed her eyes. These kids had been through hell tonight. And now they were worried about adult problems they shouldn't have to carry. Sometimes grown-ups argue, Maria said carefully, but that doesn't mean anyone's mad at you. Your daddy loves you so much. Do you love Daddy? Nathan asked suddenly. Maria froze. 3 pairs of eyes looked up at her, waiting. Did she? 6 months ago, Ethan Caldwell was just a name on a paycheck. A distant figure she saw maybe twice a week. A man too consumed by grief and work to notice anything happening in his own home. But somewhere along the way, something had shifted. She'd seen him late at night, standing in the doorway of the kids' room, watching them sleep with an expression so full of longing and regret, it broke her heart. She'd seen him try, really try, coming home earlier, playing with the kids, asking her advice on what they liked, what they needed. She'd seen the man underneath the billionaire armor. And yes, maybe she'd started to feel something. But tonight shattered that. I think your daddy is a good man who made a really big mistake, Maria said finally. And I think he's going to spend a long time trying to fix it. Are you leaving? Nadia asked, her voice trembling. Maria's throat tightened. I don't know yet, baby. Please don't leave, Noah whispered. We need you. We'll see, Maria said. But tonight, I'm right here, okay? I'm not going anywhere tonight. She started singing, softly. The same lullaby she'd been singing to them for 6 months. One by one, they fell asleep in her arms. And Maria sat there, in the darkness, crying silently, knowing that no matter what she decided, someone was going to get hurt. 11:23 p.m. Ethan stood outside the Triplets' room. He'd been standing there for 20 minutes, just listening, to Maria singing, to the kids breathing evening out, to the soft sounds of them finally feeling safe enough to sleep. He pressed his forehead against the doorframe. What had he done? Logan had played him perfectly, fed him lies, manipulated his fear, turned him against the one person who actually loved his children. And Ethan had let it happen, because he was so busy protecting his wealth, his company, his reputation, he forgot to protect what actually mattered, his family. The door opened. Maria stepped out, carefully closing it behind her. She jumped when she saw him. Sorry, Ethan whispered. I didn't mean to startle you. Maria wrapped her arms around herself. They're asleep. Thank you for staying with them. I didn't do it for you. The words were sharp, deserved. Ethan nodded. I know. They stood in the hallway. 2 people who 6 hours ago were on opposite sides of a nightmare. 2 people who didn't know how to bridge the chasm between them. The police called, Ethan said quietly. Logan's being charged with attempted kidnapping, child endangerment, assault, and about 15 other things. They found everything in the basement. The plans, the files. They even found evidence he was embezzling from my company for months. Maria said nothing. They also found something else. Ethan's voice dropped. What Logan said about Alyssa, about the affair. It wasn't true. Maria looked up at him. I had my lawyers pull medical records, DNA tests, everything. Ethan's voice cracked. The triplets are mine. Biologically. Completely. Logan lied about that too, just to hurt me. Why would he? Because he could, Ethan said bitterly. Because he knew exactly what would destroy me, and he used it as a weapon. Maria felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding maybe. I'm glad, she said softly, that they're yours. I mean, I knew they were. They have your eyes. Ethan's laugh was broken. Do they? Yeah. Silence fell again. Maria, Ethan said, I need to say something, and I need you to let me finish. She nodded. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. What I did, accusing you, doubting you, making you feel unsafe in your own home, there's no excuse for it. He took a shaky breath. Logan manipulated me, but I let him. I chose to believe the worst about you instead of trusting what I saw with my own eyes. Why? Maria asked. Why didn't you just ask me? Because I'm a coward, Ethan said simply. I've spent 2 years building walls, trusting no one, believing that if I stayed distant enough, calculated enough, nothing could hurt me again. He looked at her. But then you showed up, and you weren't distant. You weren't calculated. You were just good, genuinely good, and that terrified me. Maria's eyes filled with tears. Because good things don't last, Ethan whispered. Not for me. Alyssa died. My business partner betrayed me. My head of security tried to kidnap my kids. So when Logan told me you weren't who you claimed to be, some part of me wanted to believe it, because it fit the narrative. That everyone leaves, Maria said quietly. Yeah. I wasn't planning to leave Ethan. I was planning to stay, to help, to be there for them. I know that now. But do you? Maria's voice broke. Because tomorrow, or next week, or next year, when someone else plants a seed of doubt, what then? Will you believe me? Or will you believe them? Ethan had no answer, because he didn't know. And that's what hurt most of all. Maria wiped her eyes. I need to sleep. It's been the longest day of my life. Mine too. She started walking toward her quarters. Maria, Ethan called softly. She stopped, didn't turn around. For what it's worth, Ethan said. The kids aren't the only ones who need you. Maria's shoulders tensed. Then she kept walking, and Ethan stood alone in the hallway, wondering if he'd just lost the best thing that ever happened to his family. Would you want to know if the journey of Ethan and Maria ended here? Comment part 2 on the comments, like and subscribe to enjoy our heartfelt stories. We love you.